Okay, so tonight we're going to begin the big Siman Kuf Pei test in Halacha Niddah. It is perhaps one of the more important Simanim, only because it deals with the various Vesatot, how to establish a Vesat, a fixed period, an irregular period, something that women need to be very familiar with, important to keep track of. The Ramban says in Halacha Niddah that Jewish women should be very, very careful in this area of Vesatot and all the Halachot that apply, because there's nothing as studious or as analytical perhaps, or as deep in Halacha like this area that has various chashashot, various concerns, various issues that can arise as a result of not keeping track of Vesat, not being in touch with the reality of one's body. And in other words, a woman has to be in tune very much, and a husband, of course, has to have a certain awareness of this area, because it is something that not only recurs, comes back every time, but we obviously know that this is significant because of the consequence of Chas v'Shalom not observing it properly. So this does require, as the Ramban points out, does require study. It's not such something that you can memorize. It requires in-depth study, analysis, and understanding what exactly is happening to this woman. Chochmas Adam also writes that whoever wants to fulfill the mitzvah of Prisha, of Taharat HaMishpacha, in other words, separating oneself properly from one's wife, in other words, doing it right, should really have a chart, a written chart, and that chart, of course, could be before she's married, to have an idea of the trend. And the Chochmas Adam says that ever since he took it upon himself, of course, to do that, he never stumbled. It was Baruch Hashem, there was never a mistake committed as a result, not knowing precisely what to expect. Nonetheless, there are surprises, and we've spoken about that sometimes as a result of some exercise that they, or anything could happen that will bring about the period. And when we say period, we're talking about the real thing. We're not talking about right now an injury. We're not talking about something bruised over there, makkah, and so forth. We're talking about the real dam that can come about in all kinds of ways. This Siman is a long Siman. It has 34 seifim. And the reason why it's so long is because it discusses the various types of Vesatot, various types of periods that women's body can establish. Let's call them clocks. There's something called a Swiss clock. Is that right? A Swiss clock or something like that? A Swiss watch? All right. Same idea. Yeah. All right. It's pretty precise. That's what they say. And there are women that pretty much behave that way. The period behave that way. They don't really behave that way, but there's some unpredictability. It's okay. There's some unpredictability. After all, human beings, some are more predictable. But the clock in the body is not always predictable. But for some it is. And it is an advantage. There's no doubt about it. There's a great benefit of having a Swiss watch, a body that can pretty much perform, as expected, accurately, so that we don't have to worry about it. We know approximately, give or take, maybe a day at the most, a half a day, night, day. We know what to expect. It could be very, very helpful. But the reality is that it doesn't always work like that. So, what do we do? How does a woman know how to prepare herself for this? What does she do? Now, we know several things so far. We know that during the time, whenever that time is that she's expecting it, they have to be apart. Let's just say that. Once we know, whenever that time is, regardless of the system, if it is to be expected, it means that they can't be together. We've covered the Or Zarua, which basically says even a little before. Another Shita that is a little bit more machmir and extends that time, because as we will see here in this Siman, there is quite a bit of machlokes here. There's quite a few Shitas, including, does it matter if it's the day or the night when she's... And it's not only does it matter because do we calculate the whole day versus a half a day, it also makes a difference because the day and the night are two separate days in the calendar. So it could make a difference how you count. When do you begin to count? And that's why it's important for the woman to note when she does get it, when it was time-wise. Another important reason, by the way, since we're talking about time, of why she would want to note it exactly, because if she sees it, let's say, just a little bit before sundown, that counts as a day. So when she has to know when she can begin Shiv'an Nikim, the 7 clean. And on average, I assume, I didn't do a statistics or anything, but I'm told that a woman, depending on her age, sees 4 to 5 days of, depending on the period. Some periods are heavy, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Okay, but that could be the average. Even if she were to see less, she still has to wait the 5 days, and does not begin the 7 clean days until the 5 days are over, and according to some, until 4 days are over. There are 2 opinions as to when the earliest time the 7 clean days can begin. 7 clean days begins when she knows before sunset that she's clean. Then, from that night on, she begins to count 7 cleans. And this is a very important part of the procedure, if we can call it that a woman goes through every month, and to figure out when she can go at the earliest to the mikveh. Well, obviously, the 7 days are really in clean. She will be going the night of the 8th to the mikveh. And I say the night because, as we will learn eventually, Tevilah, for the most part, is at night. It cannot be done during, with a few exceptions, let's say. But that's, for various reasons. So, assuming everything is okay, she's counted okay, she'll be 11, 12 days later, she'll be at the mikveh. What if she didn't check herself, and it's already nighttime? Her husband comes back after Marv. It's usually night. No? Oh, by the way, when are you going? Oh, I forgot to check. Well, she just lost a day. She can't start the Shiva Nikiyim until the following day. Well, what a shame. To the extent she's been trying to become pregnant, to make a world of a difference. A day can make a world of a difference. But quite a few women have a problem with becoming pregnant as a result of the ovulation a little bit early and so forth. So, you want to, for a variety of reasons, and for Shalom Bait, a woman needs to keep track and have a good handle of her situation, what to expect. And as we've covered already a little bit before, most women, I think, are able to tell physically it's coming. Something is coming, whether it's a headache or some other pain or some other sensation. And that's the body, I guess, notifying the woman that this is what she should be. And that helps too. That really helps, because in case she forgot, in case she didn't look at it, it could be helpful for the husband to know too. I know. Now, obviously, if it's a headache and it's in the middle of the month, it's not during the time, then you don't have to be concerned. But there are certain days to watch out for, and that's what we're going to cover today. What are those days to watch out for a woman who has an irregular period? Because as we began to say, a woman who has a regular period is somewhat safe. She doesn't really have to concern herself in the middle of the month. Why should she? Unless she sees a stain, could be trouble. Unless she went to the doctor. Halachas that we've covered already. Whether she saw blood or not, depending what the doctor stuck inside. Ptichat harechem, opened up the uterus. So obviously there can be all kinds of scenarios where a woman may have to ask a shayla. But now we're just concerned more about the period itself. For a period to establish itself, we hold that you need 3 times. 3 times constitutes a chazaka. You've heard of the term chazaka. Chazaka means something has been established. There's a certain tendency. 3 times, or as they say in California, 3 strikes and you're out. Okay. So 3 times shows something. When you're checking for bugs also, you look at the whole box. You can check a few of the lettuces. Once you start seeing a lot, you have to check every single one of them. You have no choice. We say pretty much this has a chazaka of being infested. So this idea or concept called chazaka is seen in many areas of halacha. Here itself in Niddah, a woman has a cheskas tahara. That's an important chazaka. We assume she's clean. Well, depending when. Once she's expecting her period, there's something called a chashash. And chashash means basically that we have to be careful, we have to watch out. So even though she has a chazaka, but we have instructions to follow. We don't take a chance. Right? We're mekabel Shabbos early. Right? We don't wait till the last minute, just right before it's Shabbat for sure. First of all, there's something called ben hashmashot. We don't know, it's suffix yom, suffix as it is. That's a suffix deraisa. You can't do certain things. But there are certain things that the Chacham allowed us to do ben hashmashot. It's a suffix. But we bring in the Shabbos early also because we want to increase the Shabbos. We can extend the Shabbos early and later. But also because you don't want to take a chance. In the olden days, they didn't have a watch. They didn't have They looked at the sun. Well, what if it's a cloudy day? So we don't take chances. In there are various areas in halacha is that you don't take a chance. If something is a suffix, sakanta chamira miyisura, the rabbis tell us in halacha. A sakana is more serious than an isser. Is more strict, I should say, stricter than an isser. So even though by an isser we have a suffix, so there's bitul. There's a bitul. It's bitul. It's cancelled. Great. We have shishim, no problem. Some milk fell into the child, big deal. It's just a drop. Maybe it's bottle. But if it's rat poison that fell into the soup, are you going to say, well, it could be bottle? You're taking a risk here. What?
Rats.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Rat poison. It's dangerous. Are you going to say, well, maybe it's bottle? I don't think so. You shouldn't. Chamira sakanta isura. Something that is maybe a possibly isur, a sakana, a danger, is stricter. You have to deal with it strict. Take a chance. That's it. Simple person. So a woman has certain duties here. To be careful, not to be machshel herself, not to be machshel her husband. And even though we don't have the dinim of tum'ah and tahara as we had in the past, during the time we had Tamikdash, today it's a question still of karet, intimate relationships. We're not even talking about the rabbanan separation, not to touch and things like that, which is also important. But it could lead to, at the very least, contact, physical contact can lead to the real Isser, and therefore one has to be careful. Okay, so what I decided to do is that before we read the Mechaber inside, which is basically going to be just a detailed description of how to calculate, we're going to go through by heart the various types of Esatot. The first one you will encounter that is mentioned is Veset HaChodesh. Veset HaChodesh is the time frame that is based on a certain day of the month. She saw on the first day of the month. She may see on the first day of the following month. She saw on the 5th day of the month. It's very possible she may see on the 5th day of the following month. Because some women do have a clock that operates like this by Veset HaChodesh. And it does not matter exactly. Even though, as we will see, there is a little bit of a machloket because of that. But let's for now...
It's based on date.
Right now, let's just say it's based on date. Interesting. There's some energy. Call it whatever you want. The 5th of the month, it's possible. That's called Veset HaChodesh. Yes.
The truth of the matter is, varying lengths.
Yes.
It's in order to compensate the cycle in the year.
Yes.
That's why we have months of the year.
Well, that's true.
So then women's cycle would be following the cycle of the year. The fact that we added a year or would enable her to stay on the right state.
Somehow.
The question.
Yeah.
One could say that.
It could be, yeah, sure. So anyway, the Ramban disagrees that there is such a Veset at all. Even though, remember, a lot of what I'm saying right now is taken from the various sugiyot in the Gemara Masechet Niddah, but not all of them are clear, or not all of them appear to be la halacha. So the Ramban says that there's no such thing really as Veset HaChodesh. Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. But he writes, one should be machmir. Look out for that, watch out for that. But that is one type of Veset. And why is this important? Because we will see that's in the very start, at least, at the beginning, when a woman is irregular, she can eventually become regular. She has to be concerned about various types of, or various potential. And if they don't come true, she can eliminate them.
What does it mean?
For the following months, she may not have to be concerned about them.
So how does that? She had 3 months. She saw on the 15th, and then
no. So that's what the Siman is all about. That's what this Siman is all about. Oh yeah, that's what this whole Siman is all about. Okay. She's established. That's a Veset Kavua. She's not established. So long as she's not established, she's a Veset She'ena Kavua. So what entails a Veset She'ena Kavua? Which day should she look out for? One of them, only initially, not for the whole life. She's going to have to be concerned about Veset HaChodesh. When was it last time you saw? On the 5th. Well, next time around, watch out for the 5th of the month.
This watching out.
Once.
When she has her first...
As we say in Arabic, shwaya. Yeah, we'll get to that. That's one of the details that we have to discuss. How long does she have to be concerned about that? I mean, does she have to watch out for every potential Veset every single month? No. But because she's irregular, initially, we have to see. And because we have to see where she fits in, she has to watch out or look out for certain days. And one of them is Veset HaChodesh. There could be a Veset HaShavua. Now, when I say could be, she doesn't have to watch out for this. Veset HaShavua is only in the event that she notices a certain trend, right? That certain day of the week, Tuesdays or whatever. In other words, all I'm saying now is that there can be physically such a phenomena that a woman is establishing a Veset based on the day of the week. Let's not worry too much about it right now, because that's not the usual, and most of the time she won't have to even consider it, because that will not be a factor. That will not be Veset Shavua. Yeah, which day of the week? Yeah.
This would be also once a month.
Of course,
So
it will be after a number of weeks, but on a certain day
So
only.
it would be like the week of the month on Monday.
Well, yeah, something like that. In other words, it's going to be a little bit more specific, because it will be a certain day. Ramban again says there's no such thing. He says be machmir, but there's no real Veset HaShavua, or Veset a certain day of... Okay, fine. But I'm just mentioning to you the name. You should know that some hold that a Veset can be established based on certain days of the month, certain days of the week, and so forth. All right. Now let's go to the more common one. Veset HaDilug. What's Veset HaDilug? Veset HaDilug, you know what, before we begin with Veset HaDilug, let's just say like this. If a woman does not have a regular Veset, okay, if she does not have a Veset Kavua, the other possibility is a Veset Shel Haflaga. A Veset Shel Haflaga means a number of days have had to transpire until she's... So before I continue on with the various types of Haflaga, let's just get this clear. If she's not regular on a certain time, every 28 days, she will still see it, if she's a healthy woman, every certain number of days. Now, the problem with Veset Shel Haflaga, what is Veset Shel Haflaga telling us? That she's not regular. So it could be 1 month after 27, another month after 4 days, another month after 29. You see what I mean? That's the problem here. So we are always going to have a haflaga. Haflaga means, I guess, the amount of time that transpired between one period and another. We're always going to have something. But the problem is, we don't know how much to expect. Will it be less this coming month? Will it be more? And even though there's a machlokes as far as chazaka, whether it's 2 or 3, we hold that it has to be 3 times before a chazaka is established. Now, that's a very important point, not only to make it set in stone. Now she's having a Veset Kavua, but in order to if we ever want to uproot it, there's something called Akiras Veset, which we'll learn about. Akiras Veset means uprooting it. I don't no longer have to be concerned about it, because you know what? For the past 3 times, she no longer saw on that day that she... Oh, well, I guess her day changed. So in order to accomplish or to achieve Akiras Veset, that we're undoing the original Veset that has established, I also need 3 times. So that we need to be clear about it. Chazaka to establish a Veset is 3 times, and Akiras Veset will also be necessary 3. Now, there's sometimes an Akira that is just 1 time. Well, obviously then it wasn't established 3 times. But there is a concept of Akira of 1 time, and that is the various types of aflogas that we'll be talking about, that we have concern about them, because she's not regular, we have to watch out for. But just in case she does not end up seeing in those days that we think she may, 1 time may be sufficient to uproot it. That means next time around, I don't have to worry about it. So right now, let's just remember that there's Veset Kavua, Veset She'eino Kavua, and the Veset She'eino Kavua, both, what they have in common is that there's a certain amount of time that went by. Kavua has an exact amount of time, and a Kavua has a haflaga of a certain amount of days in each other, but we don't know exactly always what that days will be. Now, there is something called Vestot Hazman, which is really what we're going to be talking about most of the time now, and that is a time that is dependent, of course, of a certain amount of days. But there's also something called a Veset Aguf, that every time the woman does jump rope, that's when she gets her Veset. Every time she eats garlic, she gets it. Every time she sneezes, okay? We covered a little bit about that before. That's called Veset HaGuf. Right now we're more concerned about the Veset HaZman. Alright, so Veset Shel HaFloga, which is really what we're talking about most of the time here, which is a time that has transpired as two periods. In order for that Veset Shel HaFloga, whether it's going to be Kavua, right, or not, but especially if it's Kavua, 28 days and so forth, how many times does it have to be? 4. Even though a chazaka means 3, but in order to know a time frame between two periods, you have to, according to most poskim, include the first time too. So let's say she saw initially on the 3rd day of the month. But we're not concerned about the day of the month. I'm just using that as a time reference. She saw on the 3rd day of the month. And she saw 28 days later. And then 28 days later. And then 28 days later again. So she's established a chazaka. But in total, how many times did she see? 4. Right? The Ra'ah says you only need 3, I think. It's the only one, I think. But basically, everybody holds, in order to establish haflaga, an amount of time, equal amount of time, you need to have really 4 dates. Otherwise, how do you get, you understand, does everybody follow me? How do you get an equal time frame?
This
yeah.
Is 28 the same day of the month, the following.
No, that's why I said forget the day of the month.
Okay.
Right now, we're only talking about haflaga. In other words, there's an equal amount, in this particular haflaga that we're talking about, there could be an haflaga, which is not equal. Now we're talking about equal. Equal amount of time, she saw every 28 days. All right. In order to say that this is a chazaka that she saw 3 times every 28 days, that now I can expect that she will see it 28 days later, and I don't have to worry about day 27 or day 29, it has to be that there was really 4 times, 4 dates.
The first day and the
Exactly.
first
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
then from that
That's right. Right. I think that's easy to follow, right? Yeah. That's how we hold.
But once, once let's say it's 28, surely.
Oh, so that's what the Siman is all about. Exactly. In other words, what happens day 29? She didn't get the 28th. That's what the Siman is all about. All kinds of situations. Could she miss a period? Yeah, women miss periods. Maybe she's pregnant. B'sha'a tova. Yeah. You know, that's one of the things that women are happy about. Well, I say some women are happy about, and sometimes missed a period. What does that mean? Well, depending on her age, depending on the circumstances, it could be she's pregnant. And the more regular she is, there's a good chance, but not always. All kinds of things can happen, travel, that disrupt the pattern here that has been established. All right, so we began to discuss the various vesatot. Veset HaDilug. Veset HaDilug, which of course is a certain amount of days as well, but this one is a funny one. Dilug means to skip. And this happens. This can happen. There is like this. You can have a dilug in a month. So if let's take the calendar month. She saw the first time around the first day of Tishrei. The next time she saw on the 4th day of Cheshvan. And the 3rd time she saw on the 7th day of Kislev. What happened here? There was a dilug of 3 days. So from Tishrei, the next time she saw 3 days later, on the calendar month. Not in amount of time. Okay? That's another kind of deal. In the calendar, within the calendar dates, she skipped 3 days. So she saw 3 months, of course. One was on the 1st, one was on the 4th, and one was on the 7th. So this is a machlokes. Of course, we have Rav and Shmuel. According to Rav, it's enough if she saw 3 times like this to eat a veset. According to Shmuel, you need 4 times. Make it a dilug. In other words, you don't count the first one. Okay? So that's the machlokes. But all right, you understand the concept. Dilug, skipping days in the calendar. Now you have a dilug in the actual haflaga of days, not the calendar. Forget the calendar. First, she saw 28 days later. Then she saw 30 days later, and then she saw 32 days later. This can happen. I'm telling you, this can happen. This is called the Veset HaDilug.
The other one, this is the same.
I gave 2 types.
So Veset HaDilug,
Yeah, one is Veset HaDilug b'chodesh, and one is Veset HaDilug b'haflaga. One is a Veset HaDilug that is dependent on calendar days, on the 1st, 4th, 7th of the month, and one is a Veset HaDilug, or skip. It's called a skip Veset, based on days that have transpired. 28 days, then after that she saw it 30 days later, then 32 days later. So there was a skip, not in calendar, a skip in the number of days. 28, 30, 32. It's still called Veset HaDilug. It's just, she noticed this trend either on the calendar, or she noticed a trend in the number of actual days that went by. That's all. Nothing to do with the calendar. And the reason for that is obviously a calendar, like Elon was saying before, sometimes the month is full, sometimes it's not full. So it could be different kinds of trends. So this is called the Veset HaDilug. What's interesting about it is that there are some opinions, I think the Shach is one of the ones that holds it, that you can have a reverse Veset HaDilug. 32, 28, 32, 30, 28. Crazy Flacy says it's impossible. It doesn't happen. I think a Crazy Flacy is arguing on it exactly. He says this is really not, or at least he says, I don't remember these exact words, he says this is not the typical. So don't even think that this could really, if it happens, it may be just a fluke, an exception. It's not supposed to be like, whatever. Anyway, but the Shach says there can be a reverse skip. All right, good to know. So on this Veset HaDilug, in either type of Veset HaDilug, there's also machlokes between Rav and Shmuel whether you need 3 times or 4 times. Okay, fine. Then you have a Veset HaDilug Chalila, a repetitive Veset HaDilug, which means that she saw during 3 months Bidilug, with a skip, and then she saw the next cycle again with the exact same amount of time.
Again?
Veset HaDilug Chalila. Repetitive. I wouldn't worry about this too much, this part, just to know that it exists. It is, she's noticed a trend, it's repeating itself the exact same 3 months. There's 3 months that she had it this way. Don't think that the next month, the 4th month, is going to be that, but it goes back to the way it was in the first month. So the first 1, 2, 3 comes back and repeats itself 1, 2, 3 with the same amount of skips. All right, called Veset HaDilug Chalila. It's not like Chas v'Chalila. No. Yeah. Then you have Veset HaSerug, as they call it. In other words, it's somewhat, I don't know how to translate it out for me. Serug. Serug, Samach Resh Vav Gimel, alternating. I think that's the word, no? Yeah, exactly. What you have here is like this. It will come back the following month on the same day, but only after 2 months have transpired, or after 3 months have transpired. Then it comes back to the exact same day. Sometimes she notices, you know what, after 2-3 months, I get it back on the exact same day. So it comes out on that month, but it does not come out consecutive. Somehow it comes back, a certain amount of time has to elapse, and then her body somehow gets back to that original.
What happens in between is that also between returning?
No, so so we look at the cycle. No, so we're looking at the whole thing here. Is she establishing now, at least for that, at least for those dates that are coming back, a Veset? There's other concerns in the in-between months, of course, but there's no Veset yet for them.
So in the in-between,
right? There's nothing, but she's going to be choishesh for other Vesetot that we're going to see soon. That we have
every 5th year it turns out to be.
No, not kedei. No, not 5th year. Let's say on the 4th month, after 2 or 3 months of seeing just who knows what, she comes back to that same.
Then again after 4 months.
Exactly, and then again after 4 months, and then again after 4 months.
So you'll have 3 random months and a 4th predictable.
Yes, a certain day of the month. All right. This is pretty much the various Vesatot. I mean, there may be 1 or 2 more. I'm not going to go into them. Hours and things like that. Yeah. Right.
If before 3 or 4.
Right. We hold 4, by the way. We hold 4 because you need the first one. Yeah.
So 4 would require to repeat that way so many times.
Right.
So this is a pattern a year.
No, not necessarily.
To establish the Veset at least a year.
What do you think?
Well, it all depends. In my example, yeah, you're right. In my example, 4, yeah. I spread it out a lot.
And if you level that.
Yeah, I took it to a big level. Right, I took it to a big level. But let's just skip one.
So that would not.
It would.
It would happen.
Yeah, you're right.
Practical,
yeah.
timekeeping.
Yes.
position.
Yes.
To try
But,
to even-
but you know what? She looks at her chart or her book, and after a while she noticed something like this. This is one of those that will not be noticeable right away.
Automatically.
Who does?
The brain, you don't even.
You mean you don't need a computer for that?
No, you don't even have to fix the She'll just notice that
She'll
when the
just
fourth month goes by, she'll expect it.
Somehow, yeah.
Automatically.
Yeah. Anyway, but that was a little bit extreme. But that's the concept of Vesed HaSiruk, that there could be such a trend that skips a month or two, then comes back to the same month. All right. Now, what the important differences between a Vesed Kavua and a Sheina Kavua, the important difference is what we started saying before, that a Vesed Kavua needs to be, or can be, uprooted only after 3 times go by, and nothing has happened on that day that she used to regularly see. Sheina Kavua can be uprooted with once. If I'm concerned about a certain day because I'm expecting that it may happen, but it never ends up happening for the most part, I don't really have to be concerned about it the next time around. So Vesed Sheina Kavua, for some reason, the woman is watching out for a day. For whatever, forget now what the reason is, what kind of Vesed, but it's not a Kavua Vesed. Then once it does not happen on that day, she doesn't have to worry about it. Another very important difference is that a Vesed Kavua, let's say it's 28 days. The 28th day, she didn't see. She cannot be with her husband until she first checks herself, because she's expecting it now. So if the day went by, it didn't happen, fine, you skipped it, but you have to check. Why? Because you're expecting it.
One time after that day, or?
No, it's 3 times. Remember, to uproot, to not have to worry about a Vesed Kavua,
I'm talking, we're supposed to have
28 days later, right?
Yes, to check yourself.
Okay, let's say.
Oh, you're saying something else. If the 128 didn't happen, the next 28 to check again.
Oh, of course.
That's saying.
I'm saying both. I'm saying is that she will always need to check herself if she has a Vesed Kavua on that day, even if the day goes by and she saw nothing. For the husband and wife to be intimate, she would have to check herself. Why? Because she's expecting it on that day. You never know. Maybe she didn't feel it. Maybe it's there. Check yourself, and then you're fine. If you don't see anything after the time went by, then check yourself. If you're fine, you're fine.
So how
That's my Vesed Kavua, right?
So if you have to check yourself, when would on the 28th day? That takes care of the check you're talking 29.
No, she doesn't have to check herself. Only on the day she's. Why? Because she has a Vesed Kavua. Only on that day.
After she checks over yet.
No, once the time is over.
So the night would be over, right, or whatever.
Not necessarily. It depends if she saw it during the day or during the night. When is she expecting? We're going to eventually learn that
So
too.
it goes by hour. What if
It goes
the
by
parents doing the day?
time frame, day or night.
Yeah, be very.
Unless you're involving the Or Zarua, you basically have Ona, right? The Ona is it day or is it night?
So it can't be one time on the night. It wouldn't be.
Oh, so that's also part of the Siman.
Okay.
What happens if it's one time a day? According, we'll see the Mechaber says no. It has, in order for it to really fixed, it has to be always at the same time, more or less. And I don't really know for sure 100%, but from the little bit that I know, that's the way it really works.
So
That women either have it at night or during the day. It's not alternate too much, day or night, all the time. Unless they're so irregular. You can see it day and night, 24 days, 20. I guess, there can be all kinds of combinations. But usually it's either day or it's night. Not too much mixing. So once the time, whenever it is, day or night, is over, she's fine as long as she's checked herself. So this is only if it's a what do you call it? Vesed Kavua.
So let's say she had this day.
Yeah.
And she checked herself 2 hours before sundown. Checked herself 2 hours before sundown.
No, she has to check herself afterwards, after the day went by.
So,
Sure.
So after the 20
After the day went by.
So after
After
daylight.
sundown, sure.
After sundown.
After the whole, because she could always see.
Right.
She would have to do that.
So we'd have to check after that the is already expired.
Right. Now, if it's Vesed Shelo Kavua, she should still check herself, but if she did not check herself,
When does she check herself? If it's not kavua, when does she check herself? If it's not kavua,
no, there's a certain day that she has to check herself.
that day.
No, we will talk about it. There's Ona Bedonit, there's Ona Tachodesh, there's certain days that she has to be Choshesh for. So one difference is the Vesed Kavua, she cannot, even if even though the time went by when she's supposed to expect it and she did not feel anything, she's still asura until she checks herself. And if she finds herself clean, then fine. Eina kavua, if the time went by and she didn't check, she didn't see anything, as long as she didn't see anything, she didn't feel anything, she's muteres. It's okay, it's fine. I mean, she should check herself, but if she didn't, it's okay, because it's not a vessel kavua anyway. She's just choishesh. There are certain days which we'll be talking about, of which...
She's required to be careful.
Right. So we will see what those days are. But that's another difference between kavua and ena kavua. Number one, kavua, you need a kira 3 times. In order to approve it, if it's kavua, you need 3 times for it not to happen. For ena kavua, you don't need 3 times. Once is enough. It didn't happen, it didn't happen. I don't have to be concerned about it. It's not kavua. And the second difference is whether she checked herself or not. If it's not kavua, we don't worry too much about it. Except if it's an oina beinonis. I think most places can hold like that. Didn't really see all of them. But oina beinonis, what's an oina beinonis? Oina beinonis, maybe the right English translation would the average or the mean. Remember when you were learning statistics or math, there's a difference between the average, the mean, and so which one would this be? Basically, I'll tell you what beinonis is, and you can decide yourself. Oina beinonis means average, regular, typical, the norm. The norm of the majority of women, or a good number of women, is see every 30 days. So there's a concept in Hilchas Niddah, in Hilchas Vestas, called oina beinon, which is an important one. The reason why oina beinon is perhaps one of the most important vestas, other than a vesed kavua, is because it behaves a little bit like a vesed kavua. How does it behave like a vesed kavua? In case she did not see on the 30 days later, she still has to check herself. Remember we said that only by a vesed kavua? She has to check herself versus a vesed sheina kavua. Oina beinonis is not kavua, right? It's just a day that she has to be concerned about since she has
How do you calculate?
30 days later.
Whenever she had her
Last time,
month,
30 days later, she has to watch out for that day. So with a woman who's irregular, one of those days that she has to look out for will therefore be oina beinonis.
You said it's 30?
No,
Or no?
30 days. 30 days. In other words, we are told that a woman that does not have a vesed kavua will possibly or very likely see 30 days after her last period. As many women, or the majority of women, see. The reason why I'm not sure what to say about many or majority is because maybe the countries in the world, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit different, the climate, it's something that really should be checked, and I haven't really checked it out. But the Chachamim told us that a woman should see, or should expect to see, once every 30 days. Now, it could be that when they said 30 days, of course they didn't mean necessarily exactly to the bottom 30 days, because then she's a vesed kavua, but within 30 days. So basically, they took it out to the end. She didn't see on the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. She should be choishesh that she may see it 30 days later.
So 25th to be choishesh.
Right, not yet. We don't know that yet, right? All we know right now we're being introduced to oina beinonis, which is the more important vesed to look out for a woman who's irregular. If she has her regular period, it's easy. How often do you have it? Well, I have it every 28 days. Boom, 28 days later. Or I always have it on this day of the month. For some reason, it's a day of the month, but it's fixed. Okay. A woman who does not have a vesed kavua, she's going to have to be choishesh. She needs to. It may happen at any time. So what are those days or times that she has to be choishesh? So the first one we're talking about now is oina beinonis. And oina beinonis is the more important one, only simply because she is going to see it. And perhaps she's going to see it at the very end of the 30 days, like many women do. So this type of vesed, or this type of oina beinonis, as it's called, behaves a little bit like a vesed kavua in this one halacha. If the 30th day went by, she can still not be with her husband until she checks. Why? Because we're expecting it. It's a semi-expecting it. She didn't see it earlier. When is she going to see it? Day 31 or 32? There's a chance, but more likely she'll see it by the 30th day. So, oina beinonis means a woman who has an irregular period has to watch out for the 30th day. After her last time she saw it. Now that's a very important point. What is the last time she saw it? What if she saw it twice in 1 month? So we're going to talk about that. She saw it first day of the month. Then somehow she started on the 20th day. She had an early period.
Like that?
Oh yeah, we're going to see all kinds of scenarios. Yeah. Oh yes, and I can tell you all kinds of scenarios. Early boom. Well, you just had it. Go, as we say in Yiddish, gay vase. Go figure this out. Why? It came. So she had it on day 20. Does she have to watch out for day 30? You see what I mean? That's what these questions, we have these questions in Halacha. She's choishesh for oino beinanis. Oino beinanis is 30 days. Does 30 days mean from the first day of the month? Or this last one she just had? We hold from the last day because it came. In fact, it came. Why, it's going to come again? Come on. So the logic dictates that she just got it. She just got it early. Okay, we will see that. There's different opinions about that, but that's just what to give you a little bit of an overview of it. So oino beinanis is an important oino for a woman who's irregular, that she has to watch out for. Okay, so in talking about oino beinanis, we have like this. We have the Taz, the crazy placey. I think it's the majority of Rishonim. They considered oino beinanis as the 30th day from her last period. The Shach says, oino beinanis is very interesting. I think he's the only one that says that. He says, oino beinanis is not really 30 days. It's the same day of the month she saw it last time. He calls oino beinanis a yom HaChodesh too. He basically puts them together in one. Even though there could be a difference, of course, there could be a nafkamina. I'm not going to get into that right now. But he basically says you don't have also an oino beinanis and also a yom HaChodesh to watch out for. It's only going to be one, and he says it's going to be the Yom HaChodesh. All right. Whether it's a full month or a chaser month makes no difference. The date, the calendar date, yeah.
The Jewish calendar.
Yeah. So sometimes, according to him, since it's a day of it could be 30 days later or 31 days later.
No, this is going by Jewish dates, not
right, Jewish dates, right. Chavas Das, and I think the Chassam Sofer also over here, say that oino beinanis is 31 days later, not 30 days. Okay, they bring it down because I guess they're concerned about the month, the full month, the short month, but halacha lemaisa, the way everybody conducts themselves, as far as I recall, is that we follow 30 days. Some are machmir also to be choishesh on the 31st. Some are. 31 days later too. But for the most part, you should know that oino beinanis means 30 days after the last year. Okay, so before we go on to the other scenarios, how long should they separate, husband and wife, on the oino beinanis? It's also machlokes. You have like this. Some say that they have to separate both day and night, right? And some say that she only separates when she last saw it. In other words, she saw it last time at night, 30 days later at night. You follow me? In other words, it's not the night and the day, right? It's going to be exactly the time that she saw it last time.
And 30 days later, during the day.
During the day, exactly. It's not that. It's not that I have to. It's not that it has to be a 24-hour period of. Oh, it's 30 days. No, I have to watch out for the next 24 hours. No, so it's a machlokes.
And it follows the yeah. So it goes from sunrise till sunrise, or vice versa. Or is it 12 hours?
No, whatever it is. Yeah, whatever the time is. Halacha, I mean, yeah.
So if the sunrise is at 6 a.m., it will be between 6 and 4 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. The crazy place in the Graz, they hold the whole day. In other words, whether she saw last time at night or whether she saw last time at day, it will be a full day. The Bach and others hold that she only is concerned about the oinas hariyah of the last time she saw. In other words, the oinas hariyah means the time she saw it last time. It was night. She watches out for the night, the exact amount of time. She doesn't have a day. Okay, so this is.
What if it 3 months ago she saw it during the day, and last month she saw it during the
No,
night.
but here we're only dealing with Veset Sheina Kavua. It's oina beinanis means what was it last time? That's all.
So it only goes next to the others.
Right. We go by the last time. That's all. It's not a Veset Kavua. What was it last time? It was night. Did you write it down? Yeah, I checked. Okay. So remember, we're choishesh here. How much do we have to choishesh? Is it the whole day or is it just the oina? So many hold that it's just the oina that particular night.
That's supposed to be during the day together.
Right.
So we're choshish during the day. I'm not quite sure I understand.
No, in other words, there's no intimacy during
But
that
they're not
time.
supposed to be doing it.
Oh, well, sometimes there are exceptions.
Oh,
Well, sure. I mean,
Okay.
they need it to be during the day, for some reason. But even without intimacy, we're talking about anything like touching or anything.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
And all the laws of separation.
All the laws of separation.
They have to
Right.
eat different.
Right. Now, here's an interesting scenario. Let's say a woman has a veset kavua, which usually happens after the oina beinonis. She has it every 32 days. She has a long cycle. Very good. And it happens to be after her oina beinonis. Should she worry about the oina beinonis too? No, of course not. Even though it's a long cycle, I would think maybe she also has to watch out for what the majority of women see. No. Why? She has a veset kavua. Once a woman has a veset kavua, lo chosheshet. She doesn't have to be concerned for oina beinonis. The real problem begins, but what if her cycle is short? Let's say every 28 days. And what happened now is that 1 month she did not see on the 20th. Should she be concerned that maybe this time she'll be an average woman and she's going to see it on the 30th? It's a machlokes rishonim. No, it could happen. A woman sometimes doesn't see it. She skipped. But did she skip meaning that does that mean that she will not see? No, that's something else. Not something else.
What's the regulation of this?
Yeah, no, once a woman stops seeing, and we suspect that it's the age, then obviously before we look around, she'll figure it out.
I don't understand the 28 days.
Let's say,
And we say it's kavua.
right, but for some
Which means
reason,
that she doesn't have to worry about kavua.
right,
And we say it
right,
for
right,
to uproot the kavua.
right.
Why would we worry and have on one?
Exactly.
On one occasion?
That's what some say. What some say is, since she's kavua, why be concerned? The problem is because she didn't have it at all. Is it better do we say she just skipped it somehow, or could it be that this month it's a little later? Because that does happen.
But even if it's
Right,
a little different,
right.
since she's kavua, it takes to be accused of kavua.
Yeah, but we're not being.
So you only one.
Yeah, well, we're not oiker. What's the whole question? Are we choishish this one time? We're not going to make a new veset here. She's going to see it now. She has to be worried about it every month on the 30th. It's just one time, right? You understood that point, right? We're not going. There's no akir saveset. She has every 28 days. She needs 3 times to not see it on the 28th day for us to say, you know what? She's no longer. Every 28 days. No. Right now, she's been seeing every 28 days. She has a vesek kabua. She didn't see it once. For us to say this woman does no longer have to check on the 28th day, it would have to be that she didn't eat 3 times.
Okay, so
right?
what's the problem?
So here, in regard to his question, this one time that we want to be checking on the 30th day, is it necessary or not? In other words, because she didn't see it. Only once. Only once. If she doesn't see this once, then obviously the next time around, I don't have to worry. But that the question is, it's a machlokes. Do I have to worry? Since it's a short cycle, with a shorter cycle, there may be a chance she may see it on the 30th. With a longer cycle, it appears to be a consensus. No, it's always a long cycle. Why should I worry about it coming earlier? But it didn't come earlier. It's a short cycle. Maybe we should. So we have.
I thought you were talking about, but let me see if I understand what you're saying.
Right.
So if she didn't see it on the 28th by, now comes the normal, let's say the average.
For many women.
Vietnamese.
Right.
So now the question is, since she didn't see it on the 29th, does she now have to check on the 30th because no need?
Right.
That's and
Right.
you're saying that she's,
So the Ramban and the Ran say yes.
oh, they say yes.
The Rashba says no.
No. So
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
I see. They say yes, they say no.
Yeah. So we'll read it. We'll look at it inside later on.
I have now another question.
Yeah. These are scenarios I'm just taking from all over the place. So yeah.
I have another scenario. That is, she always sees it on weekends.
Right.
30 every
Right.
32 days. Right. And now she didn't see it.
Okay.
Does she have to check herself 30 days? Or does she rely on the 30 cycle, and therefore she can ignore the rest of the 32nd day?
Yeah, so that's what we said before. For the time being, all we know is that since she has, that's what the Rashba says here, since a woman has a veset kavua, she doesn't have to worry about anything, saying. No reason to. Whether it's long, short cycle.
So it would apply in this
No
28
chash.
days as well.
She missed a day.
So it would as well.
Yes. According to him, yes.
So then she would have to
According
check.
to him, he wouldn't have.
Either case.
Anyway, so this is just a couple of the scenarios. And Mitzvah Hashem, we'll continue 2 weeks from now.